Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the Percy Jackson series, Star Wars, Vision Season 2, also the Proud Family Season 2, and we'll be sharing our thoughts on some of this week's biggest new releases on Disney Plus. And so before we go any further, if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube or on the audio platforms as well. And also check us out over at What's on Disney Plus, bookmark, favorite, etc. You can find us on all the different social medias. I'll be giving some shout outs later on to our patrons and YouTube supporters, but let's jump into the news. So a little bit of there's been a few nuggets this week, but nothing massive. It's definitely feels a bit of a quiet spell right now in terms of Disney announcements. But it was confirmed that Walker Scobell is going to be playing Percy Jackson in the upcoming Disney Plus series. You might know him as the kid from the Adam Project, which was on Netflix recently. He played a younger version of Ryan Reynolds, and I'm going to be honest, he stole the movie. Now, it's hard to steal scenes with Ryan Reynolds, but this kid did. This was a big reveal. He apparently got the job back in January, and they finally released it. I think this is if you're going to try to boost a new series, this kid's good. This kid is really good.
I haven't seen the Adam Project yet, so I have no idea who this kid is. I guess I'll have to watch it just to find out.
It's that kind of thing. I think that was the good thing, was because of a lot of people knowing him from the Adam Project, which literally only just came out. There was a lot of goodwill because there was a lot of lines of, oh, that kid's really good. And it wasn't just like, oh, I don't know who this kid is. I've never heard of him. It was like, oh no, he's going to be an up and coming kid, and obviously multiple seasons and stuff. I suspect for this show. I think this show could be one of the big breakout non-Marvel and Disney Star Wars shows. I think this one's got the possibility, and adding him into it is instantly, I think, just raised the bar. It's set to start filming pretty soon in Vancouver. They're getting all the sets and the costumes and stuff ready right now in Vancouver. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this series. I think this one's gonna be a lot of fun.
I've never read the books, but it's got a very hardcore following, and I think as long as Disney doesn't screw it up, it has the potential to last for a long time. And the writer has been very active on Twitter and social media, saying how involved he is and how much Disney is listening to him. So assuming that continues to be true, very high hopes for this series.
Well, this is the key thing. He obviously wants to make sure that it's a good thing because he hated the movies and didn't like the changes they made. And ultimately, he's the creator, and he's got a lot of books, a lot of creative stuff being done. He's if this works right for not just he's working on other projects with Disney, this could be this could be a really big thing. So that was pretty good. So that was great. Sorry. Just choking on my cup of tea. So we've also got a brand new Simpsons short coming next week called When Billy Met Lisa. It's going to star Billie Eilish and also Phineas. I don't know. I've got no idea who he is. And she's trying to find a quiet place to play her saxophone when Billy invites Lisa to a studio for a special jam session she never forgets. So this follows in with previous shorts. Now, I'm going to be honest. Disney needed to have released this yesterday when nothing was released. There was nothing yesterday on Disney Plus release, which is the first time I think we've had a Friday in the United States without something, I think, since it's launched. They've always managed to get something. Next week, we do not need any extra stuff because there's 4 new originals dropping next Friday, 2 of which I will be talking about later today. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad when they're getting a Simpsons one. It just seems, why do on Earth Day? Seems a random date to drop this in with so much other content.
Maybe it'll make sense in the context of the story, though the plot line doesn't suggest it is. I think it's more likely it wasn't ready for this week.
Yeah.
We tend to think of these things as being done very far in advance, but in actuality, most shows and movies are done like hours before the release. So I think that they would have realized as well that this would be the better week to do it. It just wasn't ready. That's my guess.
Yes. I mean, we know very little. I mean, it's probably only going to be about 2 minutes long. Yeah, I mean, it's a Simpsons short. I mean, I think it's like the only thing they can really do with the Simpsons now without making. They can't actually make new episodes because, I mean, ironically, in a number of countries, including like Australia and Canada, new episodes of The Simpsons are dropping every single week. because that's where they released. But it's just in the US, and I know here in the UK they haven't quite got to that stage yet. But yeah, some more Simpsons is good. Also, some other little bits and pieces. Apparently, the Proud Family Louder and Prouder is returning for a second season. This was revealed on Disney's official YouTube page for the community tab, but they quickly removed it. My guess is that it's supposed to come. It's been released a little bit early, but so it's coming back. So the finale is dropping next Friday. Sorry, next Wednesday. Not a huge surprise to see this one. I think there's been a lot of rumblings of it being pretty good. Not a huge show in terms of ratings. I've not seen a huge amount of discussion about it, but it's a safe. To me, I wasn't surprised with this news at all.
No, and I have been watching it. It's been a very entertaining show. So glad to see a second season of that one coming in.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I watched a few episodes and it just wasn't for me, and I didn't really go back for it. But I'm glad it's getting another go. And also with the shorter 10 seasons, I feel like you can kind of, you can stretch out these seasons. When the days are doing like 20+ episodes, you can kind of get 2 seasons out of one, and get a little bit longer out of it. And also get it out earlier, rather than waiting until episode 2022. You can get them out when you've got like 11 in the can and get 10 of them out. So that's always a good thing. I think that's what they did with What If myself. Also, a lot of rumors going around of Star Wars Visions is going to be returning for a second season later this year. Cinema Links reported that it's coming back. Some of the studios are working on it again, and they're kind of doing a continuation of some of those stories, which makes a lot of sense because I think they went down well. A lot of love for Star Wars Visions, and kind of a collection of anime shorts, which don't really have a connection with Star Wars in the same way. I mean, I was just like, this is a no-brainer. You need content. You need Star Wars content. We need content made in Japan. So yeah, tick, 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 tick. This was just like, again, a no-brainer to me. And they can do as many seasons of this as they possibly want.
And it's always fun to see other people's interpretations on these projects. They're still within the constraints of what Star Wars is, but they get to see it through their traditions of storytelling rather than ours. I'd love to see projects like this from other countries as well.
Yeah, to me, it just makes so much sense for them to do Visions and stuff. And we're actually starting to see quite a few Japanese stuff. There's been a few announcements through the official Japanese website of new shows that they're working on, new live shows and new animated ones. And the general consensus seems to be in all the press releases, they're trying to get them out worldwide. I think they're later. They're not coming as quickly as they are in Japan. But we are going to see a lot more of this kind of content. And I know Hulu has had some great success with its anime. And obviously, like, Sony's had huge hits with like Crunchyroll and stuff. So yeah, just more Star Wars Visions sounds great to me. Also, and this might have a bit of a hint about what's coming up on with the Marvel series, is apparently Disney have submitted what it wants with Marvel for the Emmys, and Loki has been put into like the drama series rather than a limited series because we know there's going to be a second season. However, Hawkeye and Moon Knight have been put into the limited series category, indicating that we're not going to get second seasons of those shows. And I was a little bit like, okay, that's these shows could. I mean, Hawkeye definitely could carry on, and obviously we want to see more Moon Knight because this show is fantastic. But then I'm also along the lines of Marvel's in a situation where they can just create a brand new show, give it a brand new name, and put Hawkeye in there. They don't need to call them the same way. And in some ways, it actually boosts up the amount of content they've got. Because, like, say you've got like 10 seasons of Loki, but if you have 10 different shows all featuring Loki with different names, it looks like you've got a lot more. So it's like, like WandaVision is about that particular situation. That doesn't necessarily mean we don't have another series with Wanda in or with Vision, and we could see Hawkeye carrying on with Hawkeye and Kate, or it could be called Bishop, or it could be called they could even start giving these shows like just names, instead of actually using the titles of the actual characters. But they've got a lot of stuff coming out. We've got like Secret Invasion is a prime example of a show which we've got characters that we've seen before, but this is a brand new story. And I think we might start seeing a bit more of that rather than relying on those names.
There's a lot of different ways they could do this. And like for Hawkeye in particular, you could do the second series. We could say the first series was about Clint and the second series is about Kate. So it's really not the same, even though the first introduced her. You could do something with the Marvel Knights, which is another one of the unofficial teams, like the Defenders, and it could be Moon Knight and Daredevil and Hawkeye, and that would be a new series. And you don't even have to do anything but that big scale. You could just be like, here's Hawkeye, here's Moon Knight. They're in a series together. And then after the series is done, they don't team up again. Now Hawkeye's back over with the Avengers, and Moon Knight's off being crazy in a padded room or whatever. There's a lot of different ways they can skirt around the
technicalities
the technicalities, the kind of unofficial official rules of what is a limited series versus what is an ongoing or continuing series.
And also they could win the award and they go, oh, by the way, we're making a second season. just like, you know, they can get around it that way and go, yeah, there wasn't any plans, but there is now. They've done that before with some limited series. And I just feel like with Marvel, they're in a special position where they can kind of, same thing like with Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's like you could do another series, but just you call it something else, and it's something completely different.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be Obi-Wan. There's nothing stopping him from appearing in other shows or Hawkeye appearing in other shows. Possibly not the two of them together, but who knows? Disney can do whatever they want. Multiverse is a thing now. There's a lot of ways around it, and there might not even be official plans. It doesn't have to be, we're waiting to hold off on a Hawkeye season 2 because we want it to be eligible for limited. It could literally just be, they don't have an idea for a story right now that they think is worth going forward with. And then a year from now, a writer comes in and I've got this pitch for Hawkeye. I'm like, oh, this is really good. Let's go forward with this.
I mean, there's so many different ways they could go with it, and different brands and different things. I just in general think now, especially like with the Marvel shows, the concept of seasons, and we're seeing it with we're seeing it with Star Wars. Really, I mean, the Book of Boba Fett really could have been the Mandalorian season 3. They could have easily have just moved a couple of things around a bit, and that could have been Mandalorian season 3. But they called it a different name, so it becomes a different show, and it becomes a different, it becomes its own little thing. And I think we'll see more of that. It's like Ahsoka. You could almost kind of go, well, that's kind of a spin-off of Mandalorian, so that's season 5, or and they could just they call it Ahsoka. It's a different show.
Is it a spin-off of Mandalorian, or is it a spin-off of Clone Wars, or is it a spin-off of Rebels, or is it all of the above?
It's just a spin-off of New Hope. That's the way we look at it.
I mean, technically, everything with the Star Wars label is a spin-off of New Hope.
It's like every single Marvel series. Oh, it's just an Iron Man spin-off. But
technically true.
So I mean, on one hand, I was like, I'd like to see more of Moon Knight, and I'd like to see a bit more of Hawkeye. I'd definitely like to see that story continue, but they could do a completely different, they could be completely something else. And
I think importantly, they shouldn't do things with the characters unless they have an actual story in mind for them. I don't want them to do Hawkeye season 2 if the only plan is to do Hawkeye season 2. I think that was like one of the big problems with Boba Fett for me, is it felt like you don't actually have a story with Boba Fett. You just wanted to do a story with Boba Fett. And if they were to do that with Hawkeye or Moon Knight or Wanda or any of these characters, where they're just doing a second season for the sake of a second season, it could potentially damage the brand.
There's been a lot of talk as well, like with Moon Knight, about Oscar Isaac doesn't have apparently this big long-term contract because they just want to. And it's like, I don't believe any of this. I don't believe that at all. You ain't gonna build a brand new character up with a new actor and then not sign him up for multiple projects. I don't believe it. That's my own personal thing of going. They're way too deep into the MCU now to be making rookie mistakes like that.
I suspect there are compromises on both sides with that contract, because he is a big name actor and his schedule's probably pretty tight. But I would expect that there is a chance that the contract says only one series, but on the understanding that they will continue to negotiate additional series on a case-by-case basis, which happened with some of the actors, the original actors in the big MCU.
I can't necessarily think, he's got like a 9-year movie deal or something like that, but there's something in place there. I'm going to talk about Moon Knight a little bit later on. I think that pretty much wraps up most of the news. Like I said, there wasn't a huge amount. We did also have confirmation that The Princess is coming out on the 1st of July. So that will be coming to Hulu in the United States, Star Plus in Latin America, and Disney Plus around the world. So it's a princess movie, but I think it's an R-rated princess movie where she kicks ass, and we don't really know too much about it, but it's been first revealed. But yeah, so that was another big, and we're starting to see these kind of announcements a little bit further in advance with some of the stuff. Hopefully we find out. We've got the upfronts in about the middle of May, which I suspect we will find out a little bit more about what's coming up in the future then. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the news side of things. It was a little bit light with Easter and stuff this week. Let's talk about some of the new shows and stuff that have been around. So I'm going to start off with some Earth Day stuff. So this stuff is just on next Friday. There's 4 things coming out on Disney Plus. You got Polar Bear, and you got the making of that. Bear Witness, I think it is. Now, that one, the review embargo is not until the actual day it comes out, and I've not watched it yet for that reason, because it was just like, well, no point. But there is 2 other ones. There's the Explorer, the Last Toupee, and also Tempu, or I don't know how they want to try and pronounce it, and then also the Biggest Littlest Farm. Both of which come out next week. So the Biggest Little Farm is a follow-up to a movie that they released a couple of years ago, and they're actually going to be turning it into a Disney Plus series. And it basically follows a guy and his wife and his family that run a old farm, I think Apricot Lane or something like that. And he filmed a lot of it, and they've been there for 10 years. It was a dried out just lump of mud, and they've brought it back to life with, trying to establish nature and trying to get everything lined up nice. And it's very nice and softly spoken, beautiful visuals of a farm with animals and, butterflies and everything. And it's very calm. I mean, a bit like we have a show called here, like Country File. It's kind of in that same vein, very nice, very open about the beautifulness of having a farm, not so much the grit and getting up at 4 a.m. to, deal with all the animals stuff. There was a couple of scenes. There's one particular scene involving some piglets, which I think little kids might have, it is the real life aspect of our farm, and with some piglets and stuff that don't make it. So there's one scene I was like, oh, they didn't actually hide away from that. But there's lots of other cute pictures of lambs and stuff. And it's about half an hour long. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this one. It was very, very simple, but it's like, I like farms. I like going to the nearby farm shops and see the animals, and I'm literally, I can be in a field in about 2 minutes from my house with the dogs. I like the farm, and this was a nice, easygoing documentary. There's not a lot to it, but it's about a farm. There's not only so much they can really do about it.
It sounds like the kind of documentary you normally rail against, kind of like fluffy and
yeah. But I think it was fluffy, but it works. I think with farm stuff, there's only so much. It's like, and I think the series might kind of go a little bit deeper into some of this stuff. But it was very light and fluffy, and I was a bit. But it was like, yeah, but it worked. I think that was the difference. It works on a farm. You can do light and fluffy, because of it. It's just the type of stuff that it is, and it was a nice, easygoing documentary. Then we had the Explorer, which basically sees Alex, who is the free solo guy, and they go off to somewhere in the middle of South America, I think it is, and they climb up this massive wall because they want to try and find life on the wall. And there's this he's an 80-year-old explorer for National Geographic, and he's an expert in his field, and they want to try and basically get him up there. But he's 80 and his health isn't really allowing that. And there's a little bit of a mishmash, because it feels like, let's take Alex, who can climb, and he's like Spider-Man that just climbs up walls and, hangs on stuff, with one hand, and you're like, this guy is incredible. But when you put him with these experts, it's like there's a conflict of he doesn't know what they want, and he wants to do stuff that they can't do. And it kind of didn't. It felt like a show of two halves, because unfortunately the old expert just wasn't up to it. He just wasn't physically able to do what they wanted to do with him. I mean, I think it was a bit like, well, you want to do all this stuff, why don't you just helicopter him and abseil him in? It'd be a lot easier than trying to do it the way you guys did. It felt a little bit like, right, we've got this idea for this plan, but they've not actually thought about the guy trying to do it is just, it would have been hard enough doing it with somebody that was 50 or 60, let alone in their 80s. It felt a bit of a disconnect, and it kind of hurt the show a little bit because they weren't able to follow through on, I think, on what they wanted. There's some amazing scenery. There's some great bugs and stuff, and you do have that whole feeling of when he's climbing you get that feeling from Free Solo. But it was a little bit like, this kind of didn't work. It was a bit of a mishmash of what you were trying to do.
It was odd because I haven't seen it yet, but I saw the trailer back when it was released. And even back then, I was feeling like, why is Alex even involved in this? This doesn't really have anything to do with that. You're trying to get to the top, but the climb isn't the point.
Yeah, he made it much more interesting because obviously watching him doing the climb, and nobody's ever climbed up this wall and all the rest of it. And I didn't mind that bit, but that's like 20 minutes of it, and then you got 20 minutes at the beginning, and it didn't really match up. I would definitely say watch it if you like Free Solo, watch it. But I was kind of surprised because if you said to me last week about these two documentaries, I would have been the complete opposite. I wasn't really interested in the farm one, but the climbing one seemed a bit more interesting. And it actually was complete revert. I much enjoyed the farm one because it's like you said, there was no connection between the two. And also, they're talking to them. You guys are from completely different backgrounds. I understood what you're trying to do with Alex because you're trying to basically give him a new challenge, and he's good in it, but it's like, what was the point? They could have just abseiled in off a helicopter and done the same thing. It was a bit of a strange one.
See, that's where the disconnect is for me. It's not that they had to give Alex a challenge. It felt from the trailer like, why is Alex even involved in this? The only reason they're using Alex is he's basically the only recognizable name in these kind of sports. And this isn't, at least from the trailer, I keep saying that, but I won't emphasize I have not seen it. It feels like they're just tacking him on because they needed a name attached to it that people would recognize, like, oh, it's the guy from Free Solo. But even then, it's like it's not about that. We're only putting that in there because we had to, because we put it on the description. And so even when it was first announced, it was like, this doesn't make sense. And I might just skip it, honestly, next week. I had very little interest already, and it doesn't sound like there's an incredible amount.
No, I mean, I would almost say, like, you could skip that, basically fast forward until he actually gets to the wall and just watch that bit, and that's where it kind of picks up pace a little bit. Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't as good as I was hoping for. It's only like 50 minutes to an hour. It's not a full. It's basically just one episode of, because Explorer's been going around for a while, and they're bringing it back for specials on Disney Plus, and it was that kind of thing. Like, I get what you're doing, but it didn't quite connect. But so I'm looking forward to out of the it's kind of funny because out of the 3 Earth Day specials, that Explorer was the one I was most interested in. And it's kind of, I'd actually recommend now the farm one was the better of the 2. And obviously Polar Bear, I'm still like, oh, it's Disney Nature. What's this going to be like? It's hard to know. So that's Earth Day. So that's coming up next week. This past week we had a brand new series launch around the world, which was the Kardashians. So this was in Hulu in the United States, Star Plus in Latin America, and on Disney Plus everywhere else. So we had the very first episode drop on Thursday. This is a real fun one. This was watched this was my wife on Thursday morning because she's watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians series, and I said, well, what was the difference then? She said, well, it looked a little bit different with how they filmed it, and yeah, that's basically it. It's and there's a little bit more focus on the business side of things, but it's Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It's about their lives. It's about their relationships with each other, with their partners, with their exes, with their kids, about them running their businesses. It's really drama filled. It's probably tacky. I really liked it. Like, I got to the end and was like, yeah, that's just typical like reality TV show. It is just like, I didn't mind it. I'm gonna watch this. I enjoyed it. I liked it. So I haven't watched a full. I've never watched a full episode of the Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It was cheesy. It was you were a bit like, I think about like 6 months out of date because of how they film it and stuff. There's lots of drone footage. They've obviously somebody got a drone for Christmas and decided to use it for everything they possibly could. But yeah, no, it is what it is. I know a lot of people. It's got a lot of attention this week from a lot of different people, kind of going, "Why is this on Disney Plus? Why is it on here?" And it just, it is what it is. It's got a big audience. It's got a big audience. It pulls in a lot of people from a different background. It's been all over our advertisements. They've been advertising it on the television. They were appearing on TV. They've been really pushing it. And this is a mainstream TV show that will pull in a different audience to Marvel and Star Wars. If you don't like it, you don't need to watch it. I know a lot of people have been talking about the idea of why is it on Disney and all the rest. Internationally, we have all this stuff. We have, The Walking Dead. All these kind of different things. This is Disney Plus here in the UK. We have different content. But yeah, so the Kardashians. I probably won't mention it again other than me watching it, but I did enjoy it. I did like it. I know you were like, no, I'm not watching it then.
I have exactly zero interest in giving them any of my time, but it doesn't surprise me that you found it good. I mean, they're popular for a reason.
Yeah,
it's not a surprise that they're popular. It's not a surprise that it's going to be engaging even for people who thought they wouldn't like it. Honestly, if I watched it, I probably would find aspects to enjoy it. I might even enjoy it overall.
Yeah, but
yeah, no, I'm not about
it. It's got kind of thing of it is basically it's a continuation of the same show. They're just filming it slightly different in terms of how they're doing it and modernizing it a little bit. But no, it was good. I enjoyed it. I'll be watching it. It's definitely going to pull in a different audience. That's the thing as well. Monday we had the finale of The Walking Dead season 11 part 2. So we've now just got 8 more episodes coming later this year. Man, that was a good episode. Again, just you can feel it building up for that kind of big finale before they go off and do more spin-offs. But I've been really enjoying The Walking Dead. So that one's kind of wrapped up this week as well. So it's like, Monday morning. See, that's been that thing. And Mondays was Walking Dead for me, and Thursdays was The Dropout. But now me and my wife will probably watch the Kardashians every Thursday night. That'll be our show that we'll watch together, and that is quite nice as well. That's what I liked about Dope Sick and The Dropout. Is being out, having those shows I can watch with my wife in the evening, when they drop and go, and it's away from the Marvel and Star Wars side of things. It's quite nice having those shows together.
Yeah, I prefer them releasing stuff throughout the week rather than doing a single content drop. Especially the Friday content drop was a bit difficult for us specifically. Yeah. But even the Wednesday content drop, it would normally end up being I would just wait because I wouldn't bother turning Disney Plus on. But if you're in that situation, or it's more Hulu over here, but where stuff is coming in throughout the week, you keep going back into the app and checking it out.
Yeah, it's just I do like the idea of having multiple days, different shows dropping on because I think we're gonna have Only Murders in the Building will be Tuesdays, so nice. It's just nice mixing up a bit because it can get a little bit much all having it all on a Wednesday. And I think it's like normal television. We don't all have everything lined on a Wednesday afternoon and then there's nothing to watch all week. They spread it out a little bit. We also had Scrap Tales, 6 new shorts featuring Scrap. I watched some of them. It's a bit like the only thing I really like. The only one I really liked was the one that got released online by the creators afterwards, where Scrap finally gets his nut
acorn
and eats it, and that's it. And it was a bit like bittersweet with the idea of that's the end of Scrap. I think that was the last Blue Sky Studios project that they worked on. And that's kind of, other than this new Nimona, which has shifted over to Netflix. Bittersweet, really. I don't know if we will see more of Ice Age in the future, but it kind of was a little bit like, these are cool. there would be nice to see more of them, but have they driven it into the ground enough that they don't want it to come back? I don't know. It's hard to know.
I don't know. We're up to what, Land Before Time number 15 or 16 or something like that. So
yeah,
if they can get that many Land Before Times, I'm sure they can do some Ice Ages.
Yeah, but that was pretty cool. I'm just trying to think what else we had. Oh, we had yeah, I haven't watched a few of these things that just dropped this week. I want to watch this weekend. I want to watch Le Mans 66, which is Ford versus Ferrari. It's a movie I've been wanting to watch for ages. I have not got around to it, so it's now finally been added onto Disney Plus here in the UK. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that is it's not quite as good as it should be, but it is still a very good movie, and it's got some excellent star power in it.
Yeah. Right. Let's now jump into the bad boy, Moon Knight. So episode 3, this dropped this past week. So what did you think of episode 3?
I think it was a much needed change for the series, switching over to Mark's point of view instead of Steven's, getting some actual action scenes instead of the implied action scenes of the first 2 episodes, and the story advances a bit. So not like a super stellar episode, but it's a change in tone that the series needed. And it was something that was like missing in WandaVision for a lot of it, where you kind of need the mental break from the gymnastics, the mental gymnastics for a little bit, and just enjoying a mostly but not entirely straightforward episode. And I suspect that there were some lines that were dropped in there that will come back to haunt us in future episodes.
Yeah, it's funny with this one because this one, it's like it was, like when they do the shifting of the gear a little bit. Like we're mid-season, we've done the intro, we've got that done. Now we're going to speed it up a little bit and then pull the brakes back, and we tend to get in these. And it was a good episode. I watched it again because I saw it a couple of weeks ago, but I saw it again, and it's kind of funny because there was a few scenes that were a little bit different. There was a little bit more like blood and stuff in place that weren't originally, but also the introduction of another character, which online everyone's talking about it being this Jack guy. I know nothing about who he is. I don't know who he is because I haven't seen him yet. But there's somebody else in the body that we don't know who, and he's even more vicious than Mark.
Yes. Jake is the most likely candidate for that, but I've got some theories about that one too. The problem is it does go into potential spoiler territory. I haven't seen episode 4 or 5 or 6, obviously, but based on the comics, I could offer some thoughts on that. I don't really want to.
Yeah, I have seen episode 4, so I am. So next week when I am just ready to. I'm just desperate to watch episode 5 because it's just like next week there's a big just cliffhanger, and it's this episode was very much like rewatching it again and going, oh yeah, you can see how the things are starting to build for this. It's the first series that I've actually really been like rewatching. Like I've seen every episode at least twice now, which is something I've just not, never really done. But this series has just got something over me. And I'm episode 3 was great. I mean, the whole thing with them doing the sky, and Khonshu and stuff is I just really like that whole aspect of the Egyptian gods being involved in it, and it really feeling much bigger than it actually is. It's like we moved away from the kind of the London side of things, the big battle inside with the horses and Moon Knight just fighting, just great action stuff. You get to see him in action a little bit. But I really enjoyed this. This whole series is just so good to me.
It's something different, and it's what Marvel needed. It will be interesting to see if they ever bother to square away how all the different gods of the various pantheons are so different, because we've got one interpretation in Thor, we've got one interpretation in the Eternals, now we've got this interpretation. And granted, this is a holdover from the comics as well. There's a lot of different ways gods come about in the comics. I suspect they won't. I suspect they'll kind of let it just hang there and people will have their theories. But it's definitely noticeable at this point that you've got very different interpretations of the various godly pantheons and sets.
Yeah, because it's going to be weird how all of this works out with Marvel have been really like building up on all the different gods and stuff and taking not history and like molding it. So and I think that's such a great way that they have done that with the Norse and with the Greek gods and now with the Egyptian gods, mixing all of our tales and our stories, because that's ultimately what I think works great, is when they take something that we know and just twist it. This whole thing of having Egyptian gods, and it's like, well, yeah, well, so some, that must have come from somewhere. I had these ideas, so why not integrate it with celestials and gods, and I don't know. I'm just loving the whole Egyptian vibe to it. I love the music to it. Just the idea that it's not like, I know they talked about it as well, was not being in New York and taking it away from America and giving it a fresh. It's almost like like when you're something to eat, it's like it's got some different flavor, it's got some different spice. It just feels more exotic and more exciting, just because it's just not set in New York City or Atlanta.
Which you need, especially if you're doing these big sprawling crossover giant continuity things. They have to happen in various places all over the world.
Yeah, it's definitely a really interesting series. And yeah, it's hard for me because it's like I'm like, yeah, no, I can't talk about that yet. And it is like, where is it going to go? How is it going to move on? There's loads of other issues as well, of just like how this interconnects with the timeline of Marvel. And yeah, it is just a really interesting series, and it's kind of bad because in some ways it feels like, especially for the US side of things, this is pretty much just April. They were just bar a few Earth Day specials and stuff. Moon Knight is literally carrying like Disney Plus right now.
Yeah, it's something that we've gotten used to, though, without having Star attached to it.
Yeah,
this idea that you're just kind of counting time between the Star Wars shows and the Marvel shows, that's been the last 2.5 years, and it's another reason why they do need to get Hulu or Star integrated into it, so there is more continual content that people want to see.
Well, this is it. I mean, it was kind of funny because there's a topic I wanted to bring up, and we've got a little bit of time here. So before we jump into that, we're just going to finish off Moon Knight. So final thoughts on that episode?
Definitely enjoyed it. Actually, it's probably my favorite of the 3 so far, but that's because we actually got to see the action this time rather than Steven reacting to the action from the last 2 episodes.
Yeah,
it was a change of pace that was needed for the series.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Right, so before we move on to the last bit that we're going to talk about, so just want to say a big thank you to our patrons and YouTube channel members. So I'm going to start off with huge thank you to Sarah for being a platinum member. Your support really does mean a lot. We've also got Andrew, Elliot, Jacob, Caleb, Red Marsman, Aero, got Chris, Cody, Darren. We've also got Giuseppe and Lauren on the patrons. While on YouTube, we've got Dana, Raphael, Dan, Ben, Adam, Jay, Ricky, Dave, Mahmoud, we've also got My VCR Still Works, Bina, Joshua, Dawn, Martin, Jeremy, and Sarah. Thank you for all of your support. I'm going to be doing a live Q&A on Sunday night, Easter Sunday, because I didn't do it live last week because I generally feel like my voice is fine now. Even though I still technically have COVID, I can't go out, but I feel fine. So we're going to do a live stream on Easter. Now this week, we've kind of seen a major shift with Discovery has now purchased the Time Warner, which is now Warner Brothers Discovery, and they've said that they're going to be merging in together Discovery Plus and HBO Max at some point later this year. They're going to do a bundle at some point before they eventually do the technical side of putting them together. There's also a lot of other discussion about what they might do with some of their other apps like Cinemax, CNN Plus, Boomerang, etc. What they might do with all this, because we're seeing a lot of consolidation. And right now it feels like with Disney Plus, and we had the parental controls come in a couple of weeks ago, but they've done nothing. They've pretty much done nothing with it. I mean, I think the Moon Knight, I know here in the UK it's a 16, so you have to have that. The Tom Brady special, I think, was a 16, but generally, as of right now, there has been really very little in the last few weeks to kind of indicate there was a big shift. Nothing in the April lineup. We should hopefully get the May lineup coming up pretty soon. And I know a lot of people have been asking, like, well, what's going on? What's happening with Hulu? What's going on with all the parental controls? Why is stuff not? And I'm sitting here now going, I honestly feel like we're at a point like, are they just going to wait until later this year? And when they get the ad tier, when they can do the live streaming stuff with Dancing with the Stars, are we going to get like a Disney Plus relaunch / thing in the fall? You know, that might be a way of, they've been slowly putting everything in place. And it feels like, yeah, everything's gone very quiet. And that's usually an indication of stuff coming up in the future. And this is just pure speculation at this point. I don't know anything. But I'm now going, yeah, they seem to be holding their cards close to the chests. They're getting all the technical things in place. But I'm wondering if there's a reason why we're not getting this stuff when we thought we would.
It's an interesting line of thought. Not sure really what a relaunch would entail, but the idea of maybe a major shift for the app at that time, the ad tier, of course, being a big one, but then also getting a potential content drop to go alongside the ad tier would make sense, because that was kind of how it worked with you guys. Was we've got to increase the price. We're charging an extra $1 per month, but you are getting literally hundreds of new titles to go alongside it. And we know the ad tier will not be popular on social media. Whether or not it will be popular as an actual retail option remains to be seen.
All the streamers seem to be indicating that it's extremely popular with people, especially with new customers, because it's a good way of trying it out cheaply, and then you might upgrade later. And that seems to be one in thought.
I would be a little bit cautious of those reports, though, because they do have incentives to be positive about it. But we'll wait and see. And even if it is positive, there will always be people detracting ad content, no matter what, no matter how reasonable it is. You will see people just pushing back against it. So adding in content drop, presumably with maybe some R-rated content as well, would be a way to kind of blunt that negative feedback at that time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like when Star launched in February last year, it came with a big advertising campaign. It came with, lots of new shows, lots of new movies and stuff. And it feels a little bit like over the last few months, we've been seeing all these changes and stuff, and it, like technically like now in the US, you've got the parental controls are there. They're there in place now. And you've got Daredevil, but they've not really done anything else with it. They've announced this thing with the Dancing with the Stars, and they've added it. And you're like, look, and they go, you guys are putting all these things into place to turn Disney Plus into like Hulu. The technical aspects are all there now that they weren't 6 months ago. And it's like, are they waiting to, have they sorted something out with Hulu and they're waiting to sort that out? Or are they just going to go, no, we're just going to do Disney Plus separate thing. We're going to go with our plan there, leave Hulu to do what it needs to. Like, Comcast have done with Peacock. And I'm just looking at this now, and like a lot of people, and I'm like going, look, I'm not thinking we're going to get these announcements. We all want this big reveal of these big general entertainment stuff. And it's like, it just feels like this, are they going to just hold off? They're going to start doing an advertising campaign in the summer. Are they going to do stuff like the D23, like the big push towards the next year? And in some ways, like with television, you don't do a lot of stuff in the summer. You generally hold your good stuff back for the winter, for this fall, when there's more people watching it. We've got the upfronts coming up in May. They might give us a hints of what's going on. But it's about getting the but if they've got these new shows coming in and they've got the advertising revenue, that's going to boost up the and we've got some shows dropping in the summer. You're going to have like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Miss Marvel. There's probably going to be a couple of movies and a couple of things just to tie this over. But I'm sitting there now going, just the way everything's lining up, of going, just putting the math together. And I mean, I could be well off. And then maybe they spend the summer building up the anticipation and the expectation, maybe drop a few little surprise little things in to keep people happy. But I just wondering now, like, are they going with the slow creep effect and then do this big, instead of getting Star, we're going to add 20th Century FX or ABC, and change it all, maybe add in ESPN Plus, it just like we've gone there, like we're into like, it's May in like 2 weeks. We're just over, like they've been like saying a lot of stuff without saying a lot over the last 3 to 4 months. And it feels like, are they gonna wait out a little bit longer? At the end. I don't know. That's just my gut reaction, because I know a lot of people have been going, "Where is everything? Where?" Well, they've not given us everything. It's like, they've never given us a plan.
No, they've never given us a plan, and making shows and movies takes time too. And we're coming off of the pandemic when they couldn't make most of these shows and movies, and we're in that drought period where, there's a delay, and so there's that. But also to the point of like summer being slow, I think that's probably going to be more of a historical thing.
Yeah.
Because the big difference, of course, is, summer, a lot of people are taking vacations. It's when kids are off school. So you're going to go and do things with them, take time off work. So you're not at home to watch your shows. But with DVRs, that of course changed. It didn't matter. You don't have to be there. And now with streaming, you can literally bring it with you. If you've got a tablet, if you've got a laptop, heck, most hotels have them available to you anyway.
Yeah.
You can go, all right, we're going on vacation, but I'm not going to miss my Stranger Things. I'll be able to watch that when we're resting at night or whatever. And it'll apply for Disney as well. So I suspect in the next couple of years, the summer drought will be less and less of a drought going forward, but it will be this year. That's for sure.
Yeah. I just feel like, I feel like they've lined up the summer quite, they're already like lining up the summer run, and if they drop in She-Hulk or Andor at the end of the summer as well, there's enough there to keep Disney Plus rolling in its current situation with new shows. But this whole thing with the mature content of going, there's a reason they've not pulled the trigger yet. And it's almost, I feel like they've dropped it in, and they're letting it simmer. They're just letting it, maybe they're waiting to sort something out with what they're doing with Hulu, but it just feels like the ad tier just feels like that natural level of like, here's a price rise and a price reduction, and you're getting access to all of this stuff, and now you need to, and that just feels like that could make a massive boost. And then they drop it in with a new show and a couple of other things. I don't know, just for me, I'm just like, just in my head thinking, going, look, it just feels like we're getting ready for a soft relaunch, like what they did with Star. And I'm like, yeah, that just seems to maybe line up. I don't know. It's just like I said, it's my own personal predictions. I don't know whether or not we're going to see like ESPN Plus become an add-on within Disney Plus maybe at some point. The amount of ESPN content that's dropping in there seems to be some kind of correlation. Maybe we're getting the live sports going there. Depends if they're carrying on with it. Because the thing is, if they can't buy Comcast for another 2 years, they can't keep waiting to sort it out with Hulu. They have to start doing things. And if they can move some of the ABC content over, and they got the HBO deal, apparently that's coming to an end at the end of this year. I don't know. It's just, for me, I'm like looking at it going, well, if I was doing it right now and I was in charge, I'd be there thinking, well, it makes sense to use all of this, do a price rise and the ads and like mature content, and use it all as one. And because you need all this new content to justify the costs, and I think that could do it.
Well, you need classic marketing. You have good news along with bad news, and the good news is supposed to overshadow the bad news, or at least justify the bad news. And it goes on many, many different things. But with streaming, that does mean we have to increase the price, but you're getting a whole lot more. And that's probably one of the reasons Netflix has been getting so much flack for their price increases, because there's not a positive to go alongside it. Obviously the new Stranger Things trailer dropped, and there's details about season 4, but it's like, that's one show. Where the rest of the shows, and now if you really love Korean shows, Netflix is great for you. If you really love imported content, it's great. But if you really wanted a new season of your favorite show, there's historically maybe not the best track record, and Disney needs to avoid that as best they can. And unless y'all think I'm just dumping on Netflix. It's no, there's still a lot of very good content. It's just they
Yeah.
did not announce anything positive at the same time that they announced the price increase.
Yeah, and I feel like the crap sandwich is you have got the bread being, here is the low priced offer, here is the price rise, and then here is hundreds of new shows, hundreds of new movies, the library. And I mean, I'm also expecting maybe the 100th year of Disney when they might start dropping classic Disney stuff in. I think they're 100% focused right now. The team is on getting those 40 countries ready. Apparently, lots of subtitles and dubs and stuff, and getting the app ready for all of these big changes, the ads, etc. It's like you're looking at all of it as a whole from a little bit further back than just looking at what's coming on Wednesdays and Fridays and going like, right, where is this landing? Where is this coming from? And I don't know. It's like just, you're just sitting there thinking about them, going, look, they're obviously not pulling the trigger this summer. It's it's too late. And like dropping announcements about like Dancing with the Stars coming in the fall as a live show. It's like it's still a way off. The ads, everything seems to, maybe the I think like the ads tier is really where they're looking at that. That's when they need to. They can't drop it right now. If they do it right now with the amount of content dropping each week, it's not going to get hit the same way. If they go, oh, well, now you're going to start getting. What will they do next? Will they move more stuff over from Hulu? I don't know, but or shift some of the shows to maybe see every week. You could start seeing stuff like that drop. I don't know. It just feels very interesting of like going on right now. Going, there's a lot of unpredictability, and then you look at it and go, there's a lot of unpredictability. But if you actually think about it, all the puzzle pieces are being put into place. And you can start going, well, there's a lot of stuff going on here. We all want it now. We all want it yesterday. And I thought with the mature content, well, once they add the mature section, surely then you're going to start seeing, and there's like, no, they didn't. They just didn't do that. And there's no indication of them doing anything. And I feel like, it just feels like, are they just going to let the summer roll out, get people, maybe drop a few things just to hint at stuff. They seem to be doing it. Well, it was ESPN, that Tom Brady special, and if they all drop a few things here and there. But yeah, that's just where I'm thinking.
I think ESPN moving over is probably a very likely scenario at this point. People have made their voices known in regards to having multiple apps from the same company. We really want just one. We like centralized content, and I don't know how well the ESPN content, the 30 and 30 and so on stuff is doing, but they keep bringing it over, which suggests it's worth their while to keep doing it.
Do you think they'll incorporate ESPN Plus or merge the two together, or do you think it will be an add-on within Disney Plus, like it's done with Hulu? Because there's a lot of other streamers are now incorporating sports into their platform, so I don't know how they're going to go that way.
I think. I don't know if there'll be an extra fee involved with it or not, but I think it will get integrated into Disney Plus, because even though, neither of us are really huge sports guys, but to pretend that sports doesn't drive a lot of television would be very foolhardy, and it will drive a lot of streaming. If you can get, premiership rights in the UK, that's huge. If you can get American football rights or basketball or baseball rights in America, that's huge. And it will drive a lot of subscribers, even if you have it as an add-on price, because it's also very expensive for them to license it.
Yeah, I mean, I personally wouldn't be opposed to just being an add-on within, and you paid extra to get access to sports. I'm quite happy with that, because I'm not a sports person, so I wouldn't. But then I'm also looking at like what, like Apple TV have just brought they're buying out contracts, and Peacock is doing stuff. HBO Max now with Discovery has got sport now. Is going to end up being a big part of it. Amazon's put in sports stuff. It's like you can see the market is, and we've all been talking about how the bundle is changing and stuff. And I don't know, it's very odd of how looking at everything and going, look, why are Disney putting all this ESPN? And it's like the cross branding, but it feels more just like dropping hints. It's like what you're trying to get our heads into the idea that sport is going to be on Disney Plus now, because why else would you do that? Because it doesn't seem to make any connection otherwise.
Right. And I think the way I would do it is keep the documentaries as part of Disney Plus base package. You get those no matter what. So you want to learn about Wayne Gretzky, you can learn about that, or Michael Jordan, or whoever.
Yeah.
If you want the live sports, I think the best way is to do it as an optional add-on package, because I know for myself, if they came out and said, "Oh, we're doing a $2 price increase, but you will get live sports, select live sports," I'd be like, I'm not happy with this extra $2. But if you go, for an extra $1.99 per month, you'll get access to these sports. Like, oh yeah, cool, great. People will love that, and I don't have to worry about it because I'm not going to do that. But it does open a can of worms with multiple packages. Well, here's your package for live sports. Here's another $2 if you want anime. Here's another $2 if you would like the National Geographic's documentaries, and so on and so forth. And so there is a potential for abuse. So you kind of go both ways on that one.
But I also feel like if they added it all in at the same time they do the ad tier, they can blend that price point so much easier, because you can kind of put the price up to $10 or even $12 and go, look, well, we're actually merging in, basically the whole bundle at this point into it. I don't know. It's a very strange thing right now. You feel like, look, things are shifting. If you'd asked me 6 months ago on Disney Plus in the US, I would have been like, well, it'd be nice, but I can't see it. But they've done so much, and you're looking at it going, look, they're planning stuff. Why is there no leader of Disney Plus right now? Why is everybody else got to just like, well, yeah, because they don't need to put an extra person in place because somebody else is already going to be is doing. I don't know. It definitely feels like there is a big shift in terms of what's going on with it all. You can see the consolidation within the market. I was looking through like Hulu the other day, because it's got like these add-ons for like Cinelinks and Stars and HBO Max and Epics and stuff. Like, well, they're all gonna that's all gonna disappear. That's all gonna be vanishing, because those platforms are all gonna get shut down. And obviously whatever Discovery's doing with their thing, Peacock's doing with their thing, you can see all, why are CBS stuff being on Hulu? Well, eventually that is all going to dry up. I mean, I was looking for, like, they got like one Discovery show or like one Comedy Central thing. It's like, eventually this stuff is all going to start leaving Hulu. And they might just keep Hulu just running on in the side for 2-3 years, just slowly just fizzling away while they build up. I just can't see how Disney can just sit there and wait 2 more years while everybody else is consolidating, and just going, yeah, we want to, but our opponents aren't letting us do it, but we can kind of do it anyway without needing, and just leave Hulu as, I don't know. It's a very strange way right now, but you're looking at it going, look, let's just take a step back and go, and they're not going to announce it for next month. This is months down the line.
Yeah. There's a lot of backroom politics going on that we don't have access to, but it is in everyone's best interest to come to an agreement. These companies, as much as publicly they feud and go at each other's throats and mock each other, honestly, they're all the same group, and they want to continue working together under mostly positive relationships. So yeah, the one company or another could go, we're not going to play ball with you. You could offer us, $3 bajillion, and we're not going to agree to your terms. But at the end of the day, Sony needs the resources, Comcast needs the resources. They all have these like sharing agreements of all over the place. So they want to continue to work together.
Yeah, it's just like I said, I've just seen a lot of discussion this last few weeks of like, I think the expectation that the parental controls were going to be the button go to go on it, and it's like it hasn't really been. It's been very muted since it, and just like maybe they are just holding off on. I just feel like a soft reboot seems to be where my mind is going right now, and I would not. They're going to drop little hints to go along, but it all seems to be like say of
maybe it'll be a live action remake of Disney Plus. Yeah.
And because I say it like a soft reboot, because I feel like that's what we had with Star. That was like a soft reboot, like a relaunch of the app. And like I say, you know, that nice sandwich, that little filling in the middle that we're not all going to like. You know, if you've put enough good stuff on either side of it, yeah.
I just find it funny that in your scenario, the stuff that we're not going to like is the content.
Yeah. Well, because it's a sandwich, isn't it? You don't have, it's like.
Well, but yeah, but in your scenario, we've got the premium bread on top with the really good ingredients, and then you've got like the moldy bottom bread because that was the price increase. Like, maybe that's not the best analogy. In this case,
but no, it is that kind of thing, isn't it? Of like, if they're gonna do it, it's the price, that price jump, and if they have that lower price point, that's where they can kind of go, well, if you don't like the new price, we have got a cheaper version. Because I know, like, I've seen people, it'll be like $3.99. They're not going to do the ad version is going to be that cheap. They want to try and get this price up past that $10.
Well, you never know, because I mean, one of the common market tactics is to have a very low barrier of entry and then have the much higher price one as well. Because if you price them too close together, then no one's going to go to the ad tier at all. Because like, oh well, not no one. There will always be people who will see it as financially beneficial. But if it's like $5.99 for the ad version and $6.99 for the regular version, most people are just going to go, I'm just going to go with the regular version. But if you have a bigger gap, then the appeal of an ad version goes up.
Yeah, see, I mean, it's like, I think like Paramount Plus is it $5.99 and then $9.99, and and Hulu is about the same. I think it's about I think it's like $11.99 without ads, and then I don't know. To me, it's like that is that point where they could maybe $5.99 for Disney Plus with ads, and then they go to $9 or $12, or even maybe. I don't think they could go to. I don't think they could keep it at like $7.99 with ads, and then $12.99. But then if they're merging in ESPN Plus and a load of content from Hulu, that is that one time that they can go, oh, here we are, guys. It's the bundle, because the bundle's $13.99. But that's a big jump. And I think they'd have to go a bit lower than that, and then they can go up a bit next year.
Yeah, I think they actually have to go cheaper than the bundle, especially because you can't put too much of a gap, because at some point you're just like, the ad version is a significantly better deal. Why would I ever pay the amount for the non-ad? Unless you're getting like 7 ads per break, and so in which case you're probably actually just going to annoy your consumers so much that they will just ditch you entirely. But this is Disney. They have pricing down to a science. I'm sure it's not going to be everyone's happy. Oh my goodness, it's $10 for Disney Plus when I was paying $7 before. People are not going to be happy with a price increase no matter what. But Disney will find kind of where it does the least amount of damage to the brand to increase.
I feel like an explosion of shows, movies, and live sport could be the like you say, the sandwich to kind of get it through. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just spitballing and throwing around some ideas and some theories, because I've been chatting to some people and stuff over this last week and going, it just kind of feels how it's going. But let us know in the comments below what you think. What do you think's going on? What's the plan here? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Remember to go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. And I shall see you guys soon. Later. Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Also, a huge thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and also on our YouTube channel memberships. And I shall see you guys in another video. Laters.